awesome. So some introduction, just quick introduction to composability, some history, just to kind of get started. So really, if you look at the history of platforms, not just CMS, but platforms in general, they grew up, they matured from smaller platforms to what we use the term a lot with composability is the monolith, which is kind of the opposite of composability. It is those large systems that have everything within them. And they really, took off because larger organizations could just buy one system, deal with one vendor, and they have all these options. And to be honest, those systems just started adding platforms in. So they just grew and grew and grew, and those became monolithic systems. From there, where do we go, Joel?
Well, and monolith can refer to a whole sort of segment of technology, but I think the subsegment of like what has been known as DXPs out there is what came out of that was let's simplify, let's create a headless CMS, and that's where agility sits. And I think that kind of in our universe kind of sits at the center of a lot of composable systems. Certainly it sits at the beginning because that's where the content is. And the headless CMS is basically a CMS that's driven primarily by APIs. And it's usually a system that doesn't try to do all and be all. It doesn't include a lot of extra services, but it can easily be plugged into another solution. And I think that's sort of, it sort of triggered the composability, the switch, and it leads us into sort of the headless everything.
Yeah. But just before we move to headless everything, or before I dive into the discussions, I think one of the things that drove headless CMS was the need for omni-channel or multi-channel kind of publishing and interaction with your customers. So from the DXP world, where it was primarily focused around a website or a single property, headless CMS opened that up. And as the industry started opening that up to all these channels and all these different touch points with customers, headless everything came, which is e-commerce, personalization, search. You can go through all these different systems, and all of them went to more of a headless approach where they could support all of the different channels. Now, one of the issues with that came compatibility between systems, tying them together, all those different things like that. And that's how we've kind of moved into the next rung, which is
and to me, when I look at like composability as a whole, I think about the monolith, and I think about the kind of bloat that came with that, how it was tended to be slow, it tended to be focused only on a website, and coming, and now we're at a situation where it's multiple systems that can talk to each other, and that's really what composability is. It's like multiple small systems that are. We use the term best of breed, but I like to think of it as best for you. You choose what solutions you want to solve the particular problems. What do you want to solve for content? What do you want to solve for search, for commerce, for personalization, things like that? You can pick the tools that you want. Marketing automation is another one. And then potentially swap those in and out as your business grows, as your needs change, as new systems come around and you discover new things. Just went through a fairly big change here at Agility with our marketing automation platform that we use, because we're on a composable system like Agility is. It enabled us to do that. And I think to me, it's like, hey, we don't want bloat, but we do want interoperability between the systems and the ability to swap out a system when it doesn't work for us.
Yeah, and I think one of the promises of composability that we've seen with this trajectory here is that the back end systems integrate very nicely. They interop very, very cleanly. And the other movement to headless and headless everything composability, or other thing that's helped this movement, is the movement of JavaScript and front end frameworks and technologies, where those technologies can be used across multiple devices and pull from APIs and pull from static generated content and things like that very quickly and easily. So those have pushed, I think, composability up to the forefront, because you can develop very, very quick and add in other things, while the back end, which used to require very heavy developers and with lots of knowledge and things to connect things, is kind of, almost going to a no code type of model. So it's really interesting where that's going. And I guess just to summarize, composability was really born out of the need of flexibility. Customers needing flexibility, they need to change things. They're like, this part of the monolith isn't working for me. I need to swap it out. I need to change it. So that's the need for best of breed solutions. and the support to move faster, which we'll talk about a little later of why composability can enable really, really fast rollouts and time to market. You can kind of think of the whole movement as, monolith or building all your systems components together. Back in the day was more like a waterfall type of project management process where you have to plan everything, you have to get everything organized, and then you can start putting things together. Versus composability is more an agile project management technology or kind of way of thinking where just start with something and evolve over time.